On the 1st of November, Harry and Meghan returned to London convinced that they were royal rock stars, empowered to change the royal family. "It was the first time," said Harry excitedly, "that the family got to see how incredible she is at the job, and that brought back memories." What brought back memories? Memories of your mom? You weren't even born yet when your mom went to Australia. "I just wish we could all learn from the past, though. Why can't we realise that Meghan is also a victim, just like Mummy?" Harry and Meghan were convinced, Omid Scobie reported, that they had propelled the monarchy to new heights around the world. And many women did hail Meghan as a symbol of modern womanhood. And they said that she was the poster girl of aspiration. And of course, all of this led to Harry and Meghan now saying that they were so popular, they were now a threat to everybody else who was super lame in the monarchy. And that before they had been getting all kinds of negative reaction from the courtiers and everybody was being so mean to them. And that had been hard enough to deal with, but it was going to get so much worse now that there was so much jealousy. See, they'd always been jealous of Meghan and her ability to be herself, but now they're going to be really angry with Meghan because she's so well loved. It's just going to be really, really, really sad when they all decide to turn on her just like they turned on Diana. Soon after their return, Harry asked the Queen's permission to leave Nottingham Cottage and establish their lives beyond Buckingham Palace's control. Once again, the Queen capitulates to more demands from Harry, and it's just shocking that she keeps giving in to him. But I think maybe she was just sick of it, and it was like, fine, go. You know, if you want to go do something else, if that's going to calm the waters, be my guest. So to accommodate her grandson, the Queen agreed that the couple should be allocated the Frogmore cottages on the Windsor estate. Although it was hard to believe that Meghan wanted to live 25 miles from London and under the Heathrow flight path, builders were contracted to rapidly convert the 5 dilapidated units into a luxury 5-bedroom home. Boy, they should have seen this girl coming. She's not going to live 25 miles away from London. How's she going to get to Soho House? Then, too, why does she want to live right under the Heathrow flight path? That seems shocking. I mean, I live right next to an airport, as you all have seen. And I guess after a while you stop hearing it. But I don't think Meghan's the sort of person who could ever stop hearing it. But the line was drawn. Harry requested for his own office or court to build the Sussex brand of philanthropy and humanitarian, separate from Buckingham Palace, but financed by the Queen and the taxpayer. The Queen is like, all right, enough of this with your wild demands. I've just given you the Frogmore cottages to turn into your own home. So don't even come to me with this idea that now you want to do your own brand, but that I'm going to pay for it and that this is going to be the taxpayer's burden for you guys to just go and play on Instagram all day. Get out of here. We're not going to do that. On the Queen's orders, he was told that he would be allocated a small office inside Buckingham Palace and under the Queen's supervision. William had his own organization, Harry knew, and he felt sidelined. But the decision was supported by Charles. Now, William, of course, is going to be allowed to have his own organization. He is the heir. But also, he's not out of control. Even if they wanted to bend the rules for Harry in a way that they had never bent the rules for Princess Margaret or Prince Andrew, they are still going to have to deal with the fact that Harry can't control his own house. So if he is out of control of what Meghan's doing, to give him a huge bag of cash and say, you guys go play, you know, sorry taxpayers, we are not really sure what's happening with this money, would have been irresponsible for the Queen. Had Harry shown any ability to be this philanthropist and activist and humanitarian that he claims to have wanted to be, I bet you anything the Queen would have let him have his way. Because she's let him have so much of what he's wanted. And what I think is stopping her here is the fact that there's not been one positive report of Harry and Meghan's behavior since they joined up with the royal family. The two of them are ruining and wrecking everything that they come in contact with. People are dropping like flies out of their office, and not just quitting, but quitting as broken people. Well, Harry interpreted the palace's decision to deny Meghan her independence as a blow to his demand for freedom. Always on the edge, Harry's simmering anger was reignited. Along with it came the brothers' arguments. The memorandum about Meghan's alleged bullying, Kate and Meghan's mutual dislike, and the niggling suspicion that Meghan was planning to return to Los Angeles prompted committed royalists to whisper secrets to their friends. The iron curtain imposed by uncompromising non-disclosure contracts on couriers was breached on the 10th of November. So there were 3 main reports that came out all around the same time that just struck an absolute blow to Meghan's credibility as somebody who could be seen as kind and sweet and gentle and caring for other humans. The first report that came out talked about the sudden departure of Melissa Talbotty, the PA who had resigned because she was so abused. And the incident that finally got her to leave was when she was berated because she didn't get the right colored blankets for a hunting trip. And it was reported in the Daily Mail by Richard Eden that it was a real shock for someone involved in the wedding preparations to have been treated the way that Melissa was treated, and that she would have been forced out like this by Meghan. And 1 week later, the Mirror added that Meghan had reduced Melissa to tears. Meghan asked the palace spokesperson to deny that allegation. On that same day, The Sun's Dan Wooten reported Tiara Gate. Describing the temper tantrums, palace insiders mentioned that there were very heated exchanges that had prompted the Queen to speak to Harry. Apparently, the Queen had said, Meghan cannot have whatever she wants. She gets what tiara she's given by me. The Queen also questioned why Meghan needed a veil for the wedding, given it was her second marriage. Great point. Why did she get to wear white, too? I mean, there's a lot of things that we don't understand about this wedding. More importantly, The Sun reported that Kate clashed with Meghan over her rude treatment of staff. That's unacceptable, Kate had told Meghan. An insider said Meghan is used to working in a Hollywood environment. However, there's a different level of respect in the royal household, and Kate has always been very careful about how she acted around staff. Kensington Palace refused to comment to The Sun. Well, that would have made Meghan even more angry because people are coming out and saying things, but the palace is not going to take up her cause. But this isn't unique to Meghan, as we know. Anytime people are criticized, you don't explain and you don't complain. You just move on as though it didn't happen. Now, the third revelation was reported by royal correspondent Robert Jobson. At the height of Tiaragate, he wrote that Harry was petulant and ill-tempered with palace staff and even downright rude, and had shouted, "What Meghan wants, Meghan gets!" The Queen, Jobson wrote, asked to see Harry privately and put him firmly in his place. Jobson claimed Meghan's original choice of the Vladimir tiara, the one that was set with emeralds and pearls and had these pendant emeralds, had been smuggled out of Russia after the revolution and had been sold to Queen Mary. And that was the tiara that had been disputed. The tiara's provenance, he suggested, made its public display sensitive. However, that was kind of undermined by the fact that the Queen herself has worn the crown on numerous occasions. Even though the Queen wore this crown, she wore it in 2014. The global feeling about Russia and Russia's interference had shifted significantly by the time Meghan wanted to wear it. So in light of the drama that was playing out in American media about Trump and Russia and interference and all of this, it would have been unwise to wear anything that might have signaled to the world or given the world any kind of reason to speak about relationship, former or current, with Russia. So I think that it's not really the same thing to say, yeah, but the Queen wore it too. Yeah, but she wore it at a different political time. So no, Meghan couldn't wear it. And I just think that regardless of the reason behind why there was an argument about the tiara, the fact that there even was an argument about the tiara is damning for Meghan, because it just looks like she's a complete and total ingrate. There were any number of tiaras that she could have worn. There was a huge array and selection, and even if there hadn't been, even if they'd said you can wear this one and she hadn't gotten to have a choice at all, well, that's an enormous privilege. So it doesn't really matter the origins of the actual tiara or who had ever worn it. The real problem is that Meghan was an ingrate and showed contempt for the fact that she couldn't choose what she wanted. Harry and Meghan, of course, were incensed by all of this negative media coverage. They are bothered by the slightest word that it seems negative. So these long stories that are cataloging the truth, and the truth that they can't manipulate and explain away, made them super on edge and angry, and all the more sure they had to get away. Reports of their high staff turnover, they complained, were unfair, although Samantha Cohen had just disclosed that she too was planning to leave. Leaks about Meghan's 5 a.m. emails convinced them that her staff was disloyal. Everything she requested was referred to Buckingham Palace, filtered, and invariably altered. She was, she complained, denied control over her own life. Harry was sympathetic. The media vultures, he believed, were to blame for everything. He and Meghan were innocent, and the media were lying. Worse, Knopf was failing to turn negative headlines into positive ones. The newspaper headline, "Duchess Difficult," opened the floodgates. So, Meghan does have reason to believe that people are speaking about her behind her back, because truly, who would know about the 5 a.m. emails if it weren't for the staff themselves who had leaked it? People are talking. And Harry's assertion that people are leaking things isn't unfounded. That is obviously what's happening. How could anybody else know? But if you are conducting yourself in a way that is such a breach from anything anyone has ever experienced or would have thought they would experience in a royal atmosphere, how can you be surprised that people are talking? People are coming to work here expecting one thing, and you're giving them nothing but, mudslinging and low-class behavior and embarrassing antics and manipulative, controlling, emotionally abusive, and psychologically abusive behavior. And yet you think that everyone's just supposed to cover for you and never be like, hey, it's weird over there. My work environment's off the rails. In the Daily Telegraph, Camilla Tominey reported that Kate had burst into tears during the pre-wedding argument with Meghan about the bridesmaids' clothes, about wearing tights and the length of Charlotte's hem. In The Sun, Dan Wooten described Kate's anger about Meghan's treatment of her staff and the breakdown of Harry and William's relationship. William, the newspaper accurately reported, had, in the months before the wedding, advised Harry to consider his relationship with Meghan carefully. In addition, he was unhappy about the Sussexes' refusal to go to Balmoral with the Cambridges. So, despite all of this eyewitness account, all of these staff members who are leaving, a clear indication that things are horrific at the palace. This individual, Lorraine Kelly, writing for The Sun, decides that she's going to sidle up to the prince and his duchess and whisper sweet nothings into their ear with the attempt to gain some kind of tie with them. She writes this little ridiculous article. Cut her some slack. Meghan has done incredibly well to tiptoe through the minefield of royal protocol. She's a fantastic addition to the royal family, approachable, sweet, and with a genuine desire to make a real difference. Is that sarcasm? I mean, how could she even begin to write something like this? What in the world has given her any authority to write that Meghan is sweet, approachable, and has a genuine desire to make a real difference? She's making a difference, all right. Everything was peaceful until she came in. And I just think that that is wildly presumptuous to think you can write about somebody's character when you clearly haven't met her. But all these people who have say she's a nightmare. So what is the point of that other than to try to garner some kind of approval and some kind of connection to Meghan and Harry? Because they read all the articles. So you're over there trying to play your own little card, Lorraine Kelly. Meghan would call the critical media reports the beginning of a real character assassination. And she was really upset that Knopf always refused to set the record straight. She felt like he was just being really unfair and that would be so easy for him to just change everything with a few well-placed words. But unfortunately, that wasn't going to happen. Now, Meghan says that she thinks that at this time, this is when everything really started to change. And she gave Omid Scobie an email that recorded the fact that she had urgently requested a denial of the offensive report in the Times, that she had made Kate cry, but that nothing was ever done with it. And she told Scobie that she was just ignored, and all she was trying to do was set the record straight. And the palace just wanted to constantly put Kate on a pedestal at Meghan's expense. Meghan had been the one who'd been reduced to tears. But Kate was going to be the one who's going to come out looking like the victor, according to Meghan. Contrary to Meghan's orders, the palace insisted that Harry and William were close. As evidence that the Sussexes and Cambridges had not fallen out, an official briefed that the two families would spend Christmas together at Sandringham. Well, Meghan hit back. She didn't want anybody to think they were close. She wanted to continue on with the narrative that everything was terrible. And So she decided that she was going to have to tell her own story her own way. Isn't this exactly what her dad did when he felt that he was being maligned? Decided to tell the story his own way, and that wasn't acceptable. She had all kinds of feelings about that. So her dad can't ever put his story straight, but when she wants to, she's not only going to get her story straight, she's going to have a whole book written about them. In November 2018, she told Knopf and the palace's communication staff that her friends were cooperating with Omid Scobie to write a book setting out Harry and her lives and the problems that she had experienced. The background to that decision would challenge Harry and Meghan's veracity. So, as it turns out, in the summer of 2018, Kensington Palace had been approached by Omid Scobie and Carolyn Durand. They wanted to write a book called Finding Freedom. And the authors promised the book would be completely favorable to the Sussexes. They weren't looking to malign, and all they wanted to do was just finally let Meghan and Harry tell their own story. I mean, that's like red meat for Meghan. Interestingly, Knopf knew that Meghan would be interested, and he said he thought it was a good idea. Is he trying to hang Meghan out to dry on this one? I mean, it's interesting he would say, this would be a really great idea for you. Jason is a question mark to me. Is he with her? Is he against her? Is he playing his own manipulative games? Who even knows? But he tells her he thinks it's a great idea. She wanted the book to focus on the sacrifices that she had made when she became a duchess. What might those have been? What sacrifices were they? You gave up a career you didn't have. You gave up a career that was fizzling. While supportive, Knopf advised against asking or authorizing Meghan's friends to cooperate with the authors, because he said there was a risk that the authors' opinions about the Sussexes might change after talking to Meghan's friends. And of course, Meghan disagreed. No, they weren't going to hurt her. Of course not. She wouldn't let him. Scobie, she sensed, would be turned into a loyalist. I feel he needs to be back briefed ASAP, she replied about Scobie. So, though Knopf had said, I think the book's a good idea, the idea of Meghan's friends being involved definitely was not Knopf's idea of a good way to go about this. So when Knopf was not allowing Meghan's voice to be heard in the media, she saw it, and because he kept clipping her wings and not coming out and defending her, that's when she fired back, oh yeah, you didn't want my friends to be involved? Well, they are. Charles didn't know anything about the book, but he did know that Meghan was the one bringing in a lot of negativity and a lot of uncomfortable reports. And a lot of eyes were on the monarchy at a time when all he wanted to do was make everything sort of peaceful and easy. And he didn't like the fact that once again, he was going to be in the crosshairs for some woman's discontent. Now, it makes sense that he was in the crosshairs for Diana's discontent because he did play some role in why she felt like she was a victim. But to have Meghan come in right here on the eve of him taking the throne and being yet another person saying, I'm being victimized by the palace. The people in this palace, the senior royals don't care about me. He cannot survive another round of this. And he's very anxious that people not make that kind of connection between Diana and Meghan and himself. Charles' past behavior undermined his plans. His admission of adultery to Jonathan Dimley during the TV interview in 1994 had damaged Charles, and rehabilitation had taken years, and it was still not complete. So he's not at a place where he can withstand any more negative media attention, especially if it involves a woman saying that she's being victimized in any way, and his name is involved in that in any way. He was really trying to distance himself from any of the negative things that people had ever thought about him. Also trying to distance himself from what people referred to as his meddling, and that would be his activism. So on his 70th birthday, he had talked about how when I become king, I'm going to make sure that I'm not doing anything that would make people feel like I'm putting my foot where it doesn't belong as the king. I won't meddle anymore. Even though I always thought I was helping. If people have decided that that's meddling, I want you to know I'm not going to be involved in that. At the same time, the Queen was also looking to bolster his image, and she gave, in her speech on his 70th birthday, support for not only Charles, but also for his wife Camilla. And she said that Charles was his own man, passionate in creativity, and that his wife Camilla had sustained him. So, very generous word from the Queen, who Tom Bauer says had never really supported their marriage. And even on the day of their wedding, had not attended the ceremony, and in fact hadn't really wanted to attend the party at the castle afterwards because she was too busy watching the Grand National Horse Race. So, for her to give a glowing review of Charles and the union that Charles has with Camilla and to call it a positive thing was big words coming from the Queen. Over the following decade, opinion polls were harsh about Camilla's status. And this is one of the reasons why it would have been an extreme relief to hear the Queen speak kindly about Camilla, because at the anniversary of Diana's death, Camilla's approval ratings always plummeted. And now Charles was worried that he wouldn't be able to bridge the gap there where people were always willing to be angry with him for things he'd done in the past. He'd already struggled his whole life trying to get past his worst moments with the public. And now he's got all of this other stuff. Now people are going to say, his kids are out of control and his daughter-in-law is out of control. And now she's saying that she's being victimized. And so he's got like a huge issue going on at home. And he's only just now making strides with his own image. And now he's got all this to contend with. So he's making real efforts to build a bridge with William. William had had issues with his dad for years. For his whole life, he'd struggled with his dad. And because he'd always had his mother in his ear, he didn't have a super positive image of his father, Charles. And he really wasn't willing to go out of his way to help Charles's image. But that's beginning to change. Charles is asking William and Catherine to put on more duties, to be more of a face for the royal family, knowing that they are such a respectable and well-loved couple. It was very smart of him to put more and more eggs in the William and Catherine basket. Though William and Catherine agreed to move back to London from Norfolk to undertake more royal duties, although they did it under some persuasion, Harry was going in the opposite direction. Getting the two brothers to smile together for Charles' 70th family photograph had not been easy for Kate. Thankfully, William agreed that Camilla would be included in the photograph alongside his children. So he is seeing the efforts his father's trying to make to prepare the way for his, taking the crown in several years. And William is just not into making more fights with family members. He's already got more than he can handle with Harry. Let him make the peace with his father. So at least there's one positive that's coming out of this. The happy portrait would not deceive the public. The dam had been broken. Publicity about the rift between the Sussexes and Cambridges, combined with Thomas Markle's denunciation of his daughter, had destroyed the blissful images recorded on Meghan's wedding day only 6 months earlier.